You guys retain any beliefs that he might stay on next season, Barry Ferguson?
I think, and we've talked about this, Daniel, I think there's been a kind of shift in the mood music around Barry Ferguson since he's had his face-to-face, I think, really lengthy, full and frank discussions with Kevin Thelwell. I think that conversation probably went really well because, from Barry Ferguson's view, because he's been a little bit more bullish since then. And he has, and I think he's quite right to get on the front foot and say, look, guys, whether it's me, whether it's not me, make a decision because something needs to get done.
Aye.
And you look at Andy, and I was watching on the TV, it looked to me as if there was big holes all over the Ibrox home support today. So you can tell that the fans that have paid for their tickets, they're paying not to go and watch that team now. Mm-hmm. That's a worry. And it really, and I know that everybody's now put the kettle on for the summer and the American takeover. But the fact of the matter is that Rangers really need to start putting their building blocks down. They should have been doing it weeks ago. They're weeks and weeks and weeks, perhaps months late already. I just, whether or not Barry Ferguson gets it, I think he's absolutely correct in saying, do you know what, guys, you can't afford to sit around twiddling your thumbs. There needs to be action. Yeah.
Some comments coming in, Andy. Let me throw these at you. You're low him up. It says Barry's been a good addition to get more out of the players, but we need experience. This one from Craig as well says, I appreciate Barry's efforts. Some brilliant memories knocking out the special one, but we need a completely new start with a new man, and we need it now. The latest name is Davide Ancelotti, who's been linked with Rangers today.
David.
Is it David or David? Oh.
Davide.
He's been linked. He's obviously his father's understudy, his assistant. He's been obviously seen there at Napoli, at Real Madrid. I mean, Andy, do you think there's any chance that Ferguson will still be there next season?
As I said, I always thought, I think I've said consistently, I think he had to do something special. I think the telling thing was last week, as Keith says, he points out, he came out with this bullish statement urging the new owners to make a decision quick. I think if he was told, if it was going to be him, I think he would have been told by now. I think, as Keith points out, that there's so little time left before the new season. I think if they had any indication it was going to be him, in fairness to him, I think they would have told him by now so he can start these plans. And I spoke to him on Friday asking, has he been involved in any discussions as to new signings, even if he's not going to be the man playing them? Has he been asked to weigh in and what sort of players, what sort of characters they should be signing? And he didn't give any sort of indication he had been. So I just think, what is it? I mean, I think it's 71 days as of tomorrow, so 72 days today until they play their first Champions League qualifier. I think it was going to be him. Just out of sheer fairness to him, they would have had to have told him by now, because otherwise, as you say, Keith, they're heading in with in the summer one hand tied behind your back. I mean, Celtic must have been doing their preparation for the new season, as you say, for months. They'll have started this, had an eye on it in January. They'll have been doing all their scouting work, getting their ducks in a row. I mean, listen, I'm absolutely certain Rangers have plans in place, and there'll be action, even perhaps without the takeover being complete. The current board will be acting under instruction from the new owners, knowing that it's going to go ahead. It's just a matter of getting through the final paperwork. But I think, in fairness, if it was going to be Barry Ferguson, if you really thought he was going to be the guy to do it, they'd have told him by now and allow him to get on with the job. So the fact that they haven't done that just leads me to think that it's not going to be him. Just, listen, I think we also know that the Rangers' run of form hasn't been anywhere near good enough, and I don't think we've seen enough signs from Barry that things have improved drastically enough for him to be considered. So, but I think he's absolutely right to be urging the board the new regime to get a move on, just to give some clarity. I think the fans need it as well, as you say. Even though I've been saying for a few weeks that this is only shown town that it's given them any kind of hope for the new season, because if it wasn't for this takeover, you'd be heading into another really bleak, close season with Celtic potentially winning a treble and just nothing for the Rangers support to get excited about. But again, here you are with, the team is on the pitch right now is a mile off it. You think there may be a wee buzz around the place just because of the takeover coming, but there's been so few details come out. I think it's still too early for the fans to even get that real excitement going for the new campaign. I think they need to see something more than just a sporting director getting announced. They need to see some proper signs of who the new manager's going to be. They need to start hearing some names coming about in terms of the signings for the summer before they can get that buzz back. And right now, I think they're just a wee bit in limbo land, or a wee bit in purgatory, if you want to use that phrase. Just waiting for things just to start getting going. Once that happens, they can start feeling the excitement, the energy back around the place. But right now, it's just a bit of a lull.
That's what makes me think, Andy. You know, you're making the assumption that by not telling Barry Ferguson they do have a plan, they've got something else in mind. That's an assumption that I'm not prepared to make with this Rangers set, because we have nothing to judge them on in terms of their previous, the new American owners. There's no measuring stick. What do we expect? Are they commercially minded? Are they just solely focused on trying to get the business deal over the line and get it done? And then they'll take a look and they'll go to Kevin Thelwell. What's Kevin Thelwell's doing? They have had a conversation, him and Barry Ferguson, but by not saying that it's your job, he hasn't said to him that it's somebody else's either. I think we could be making a bit of an assumption here that Rangers are further down the line with things than they actually are. I think everything's up in the air. Bear in mind that Kevin Thelwell is still employed by Everton. He's not even in the door.
No.
So yeah, I think, Andy, you might like to think that Rangers have got their ducks in a row and they know exactly what they're going to do this summer. I'm seeing no indication that that's the case. And the longer it goes on, I think the more opportunity, funnily enough, that it might be that they turn around and say to Barry Ferguson, listen, we're miles behind. No. We've got all this to sort out. You're in the door. You've made assessments in these players. Would you take a 1-year rolling contract? That might be the simplest solution to the whole thing.